Hey friends, happy Father's Day. Thanks so much for joining with us today. I hope that the message I have today is beneficial for all of us, but then extra poignant for us who are dads that since it's Father's Day weekend, it's something we can take away and apply to us really quickly. If you don't know me, maybe because you just started attending Acts either online or connected to it, or maybe we just haven't chatted, I am a dad. I actually have two little boys right now. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And then I am 2 months away from having my very first baby girl. So for all of you girl dads out there, please do me a favor, pray for me because I need the Holy Spirit because I'm still going to have to figure out how that all looks with being a girl dad. Used to boys, not so sure about the whole girl thing. But being a dad really is amazing. I think it's one of the most awesome, one of the most exciting, one of the most rewarding, and insanely hard things that you can do with your life. It's hard. It's really, really hard. Some days are amazing, some days are exciting, and some days are just survival mode to be able to get through. It's mustering enough energy to be able to go through it. I've had those moments for sure that are pretty harsh. I remember just recently a day coming home, exhausting day, tiring day, trying to create, trying to think, all these different things, and pulling in the driveway and coming in. And when I walk in the house, my wife looks like a drowning victim, like she's up to her nose, right? Just like suffocated by these little boys that are climbing all over her. And she hands me one of them and says, like, take this one. And he doesn't want me, he wants mom. So he's frustrated and annoyed that he's with me, and temper tantrums and fights. And I remember some of those moments like that where you just think, like, I don't know if I can even do this right now. To be honest with you right now, I feel like getting in the car and driving away, right? Because it's just like so much because you were already worn out. I totally get it. Being a dad is hard work. And that same idea is kind of analogous with just life in general. I think life in general, it all applies. The whole having kids thing is right in that vein. There's really, really amazing parts and really, really difficult parts. There are really rewarding parts and really exhausting parts. There are really, really great days, and then there are really bad days. There's difficult days. There's just days that are poop, right? I mean, like just poop. Kid just keeps pooping, and your house stinks like poop, and I got a newborn coming, and I'll have to deal with that all over again. But I want to share with you something that I think is applicable to you if you're a dad in regards to getting in this groove and what it all means, whether a new dad or an old dad, but also for all of us something that we can apply because our lives are like this. There are hard things that come into our life, and we need to make sure that we have a strategy to get through them. And I just want to give you a few key things today, and let me just start by saying this, and then we'll jump from there, okay? Struggle, which is what this feels like, right? Being a dad is kind of this struggle to be able to accomplish and take care of these kids and do everything. And a lot of life kind of feels like a struggle to be able to get through. Struggle doesn't mean something is wrong. Struggle doesn't mean something is wrong. In fact, struggle is just part of nature. It's just natural. That's what life is like. And I think that if we don't get this, we can be really confused because we look at maybe somebody else's Instagram post or Facebook post or what celebrities post or what other people are doing, and we kind of compare our real life to their highlight reel. And when we start feeling like we're struggling, like we're having a hard time, we can get this feeling of like, did I make some sort of mistake? Like, is something wrong? Why is this difficult, right? Because people are talking about how joyful this is or how exciting it is to be a dad or whatever other season you're in life, and then you're there going, but this is really hard. It feels like a struggle. Am I doing something wrong? Did I make a wrong? Should we have had all these kids, right? Like, can I do this? And you can have this feeling of this struggle that's there. But see, the reality is the struggle doesn't necessarily mean that something is wrong. Struggle is a natural part of life. That tension and that difficulty, it's natural to have happened. In fact, before Jesus left the earth, before he headed off into heaven to be able to prepare a place for us, some of the last words that he said to his disciples, one of the last different things that he had in conversation with them is John 16:33. And here's what he says to his disciples. I have told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth, You will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart because I have overcome the world. Now, I know he's talking specifically to his disciples, but I think we can carry that over to all of us who continue to follow after him. He basically said, in this world, you will have many trials. He says, that's just going to be what it is. I'm sure they were kind of disappointed because they're like, you're hoping he's going to be like, it's smooth sailing from here, right? And he's like, no, plenty of trials from here on out. It will happen in your life. And in fact, Paul makes this even more clear. Paul, of course, became a Jesus follower. He ended up starting churches all over. One of them was the church of Thessalonica. He left, and then he wrote back letters to them. And in 1 Thessalonians 3, 2 through 4, he says this about sending his protege Timothy to them. He says, and we sent Timothy to visit you. He is our brother and God's co-worker in proclaiming the good news of Christ. We sent him to strengthen you, to encourage you in your faith, and to keep you from being shaken by the troubles that you were going through. But, check this out, you know that we are destined for such troubles. Even while we were with you, we warned you that troubles would soon come, and they did, as you well know. Paul says, while we were there, we told you, troubles they're coming, right? And not only that, but he actually said, we're destined for troubles. That's kind of just like depressing, isn't it? We're destined for troubles, but he says that's the reality is you are destined for troubles. They are coming. I want to give us all a reality check this weekend as we look into this, okay? Because we need to realize that struggle is natural in our life. Just because we're facing a struggle doesn't mean that something is actually wrong. In fact, we need to expect these troubles because this is real life. Let me just say this. You will fail. You will be beaten out by somebody who's better. You will lose something that you love. You will lose someone that you love. You will experience sickness and pain. You will experience betrayal. You will have people hurt you. You will have people leave you. You will have letdowns and disappointments, and you will have dreams that fade and die. You will experience those things. You're like, I'm so happy I tuned in this weekend to watch this, right? So happy that I took my weekend to come and watch Cameron make me feel depressed. And that's not the case at all, because I know that might sound depressing, but it's really important that we get it. Because if we don't realize that that's real life, when it happens to us, we could start thinking, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What did I do to deserve these things? But you see, the reality is this is just real life. These things are going to happen to you even if you do nothing wrong. Now, you can certainly add to them because of your own stupidity or your own malevolence. Some of us have done that, and I understand that. But I'm saying, even if you do nothing wrong, this is what's to be expected. Paul said we are destined for these things. We're destined for a struggle. We're destined for these hard times. And to be honest with you, the first time that I grasped this, I actually found it freeing. I found it freeing because very often you have this worry of, well, what happens if, somebody gets sick? Or what happens if this? And there's this tension of like, oh my goodness, but what happens if? And I finally realized all of us face this. All of us are going to experience these things. This is what life is. This is what we're signed up for if we're going to live through this life. And we need to realize that we're going to face these things and we need to be able to walk through them. You see that struggle, that feeling of this being difficult. That's not indication that something's wrong. In fact, that's usually just the fact that that's how life is. Now, because of that, okay, because life is kind of a struggle, it's hard, okay, we need to know this. You cannot be soft and survive. You cannot be soft and survive. The struggles that are coming to you are too hard. Life is tough. And see, the problem with soft things is that they deform when they run into other things. The problem with something that's soft, picture a ball of clay, right? When something is soft and something smashes into it or hits it, it deforms and it changes what it is. It deforms it into something else. Not only that, but very often with soft things, things actually get caught inside of it. They kind of deform it and then get caught and get carried around with it like a ball of clay. This world is hard. And if you are soft, you will not survive because listen to me, you're gonna face these things. And if you are soft, they will deform you. These will become your new identity because you're going to change with each one of these things, and they're going to change you and rearrange you. You're going to face these struggles. Now, some of you, because of that, you're like, I knew that. I knew that. I knew life is hard. So what I did is I got hard too, right? Like I toughened up, right? I put on that outside exterior, and life is hard. It's going to come at me, but I'm hard, and it's going to bounce off me, and I'm good. Nothing's going to bring me down. I'm not going to cry about that. I'm not going to experience that. And what you did is you kind of hardened yourself because you noticed how hard life is, and you didn't want to be the soft person, right? Maybe as a dad, right, where men be like, hey, you know what? I don't want to be that soft. I want to be tough, right? And you made yourself hard. But you know the problem with hard? Hard is brittle. Some of you guys might not know that. See, I come from the machine shop world, and see, the problem with things that are extremely hard is they're brittle. Think of glass. Glass is actually extremely hard. It's really difficult to scratch glass, but if you hit it with a hammer, it shatters. Engine blocks in cars, they're hard, right? You're like, oh, it's big, tough cast iron, right? But if you heat it up and cool it, it literally spider webs and cracks. Or if water gets in it and freezes, it cracks and blows apart. Hard things actually become extremely brittle. Really, really hard metal, really, really hard things, when put under strain, have a tendency to fracture and to crack. So see, the reality is if we're soft, we're deformed, but then we say, well, I'm going to become hard. But here's the problem. Some of us, we put on this hard exterior, but as things begin to smash into us over and over again, and we let them bounce off, these little fractures start forming. And it's only so long until something else hits us and it absolutely shatters us to pieces. So if soft doesn't work, and if hard doesn't work, what does? Resilient. Resilient works. We need to have resilience. And I'll tell you what a resilient material does. A resilient material absorbs impact. A resilient material bends instead of breaking. And then, this is the key of what a resilient thing does. It goes back to its original shape. It goes back to its original shape. For me, really quick, think of like spring steel, like big springs that are on like a big truck. You load it down and these springs bend and they flex, and then you take it off and they come back to their original place. Think of plexiglass, right? There's this, it looks like glass, but then you can literally hit it with a sledgehammer and it absorbs the impact and deflects it and then comes back to its original form. You see, what we need to be is resilient. We need to have this resilience inside of us. Paul explained kind of what this looked like, okay? Not being soft, not being hard, but instead being a resilient person where you can absorb those blows and then retain your original shape. Here's what he says in 2 Corinthians 4, 8 through 10. Paul was going through a lot of garbage at this time, okay? Here's what he says. We are pressed on every side by troubles, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed, but not driven to despair. We are hunted down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we are not destroyed. Through suffering, our bodies continue to share in the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be seen in our bodies. He says, we're facing plenty of hard times. Don't let me fool you into thinking like, oh, everything's been great. I actually love that verse 8. That's what I want to focus on. He says, we are pressed on every side by troubles, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed, but not driven to despair. Here's what he's showing. He says, this is a resilient person. And here's what he's showing, okay? He says, we're pressed by troubles. Pressed by troubles. That literally, if you go back to the original translation, it means squeezed. It means like squeezed down in a narrow path, like no comfort left, all this pressure kind of compressing us and pushing us in. We still use this language when we say, I'm in a tight spot, right? We know what that means. It's this idea of being pressed in, but he says, I'm pressed, but I'm not crushed. And that term crushed is interesting. It's like literally like if somebody was completely apprehended, like tied up and held down. The idea that there's no more possibility for forward momentum. He says, no, I'm experiencing this constriction. I'm experiencing this tension, but I have not been held down and kept from continuing to move forward. Not only that, but he says, I'm perplexed, right? That means to be in doubt. That means unsure about what comes next. That means I don't know what's going to happen next. I can't see it yet. But he says, we don't end up turning into despair. And see what despair is that is no more hope. No more hope. No more belief that something good can happen. He says, right now, we can't see what's going to happen next. We don't know what's going to happen next, but we won't let that stop us from continuing to walk forward, to move forward by faith. Listen, he says we're not soft. Because if Paul was soft, he would have been crushed. He would have been deformed by all of those hard times and that pressing in that happened around him. But he said also, it's not that he's hard, right? Because he's not ignoring the fact like it's all good, it doesn't matter at all, because one more of those situations where there was uncertainty, one more of those situations where they say, Paul, we're going to come and we're going to kill you. And he could have cracked and fractured and run away from his calling. Instead, he was resilient. He absorbed those impacts. He was feeling every single one of them. But he was resilient, and he was coming back to his original shape over and over and over again. So you can't be soft and survive. The reality is these hard times are going to come. And if you're soft, these hard times are going to deform you. They are going to shape you into something else, and you do not want to be shaped by your circumstances. But also, if you say, well, you know what, that's why I got hard. That's why I decided I'm not going to let anything touch me. The reality is that you might be thinking, oh, I'm fine, and things are bouncing off, but cracks are starting to form. Cracks are starting to go through, and sooner or later you might shatter. For dads, let me just say, if you're the soft dad, the reality is everything is deforming you and changing you, and your kids are watching you be a victim to the world around you. For you who is a really hard dad, like, no, nothing does. The problem is you might be one or two more things away from those cracks breaking through and you fracturing. And those are the dads who walk away from their families, or if you fall into the category like me, middle of the road, middle income, middle-aged white guy, they end their lives. They literally leave this coil of earth and say, I'm done with it, and they're out. Friends, we can't be soft and we can't be hard. We need to be resilient. We need to feel those impacts, but then come back to the original shape. And Paul shows us the secret for becoming resilient in 2 Corinthians 1, 8 through 9. He's facing all these troubles. He's facing all these trials. And he shows us, here's his secret of how he became a resilient man. He says this, we think you ought to know, dear brothers and sisters, about the trouble that we went through in the province of Asia. We were crushed and overwhelmed beyond our ability to endure, and we thought that we would never live through it. In fact, we expected to die. But as a result, we stopped relying on ourselves and we learned to rely on God who raises the dead. I love this. He says, there was so much pressure. There was so much struggle that we didn't think we were going to make it. We figured we were going to die. He says, so in light of that reality of thinking we might die, he says, something clicked in our head and we said, then what we need to do is we need to trust the one who's already beat death. We need to trust the one who's more powerful than all these circumstances, Jesus Christ. And we need to take the confidence off of ourselves and put our trust in him instead. Let me just explain to you, Jesus is the secret to becoming resilient. You can be soft, you can be hard on your own, but those both come with their own problems. But see, resilience, the secret to that is Jesus. Here's why. Jesus can take you, if you're soft, and he can make you strong without hardening your heart. We can't do that. We can make ourselves hard. But Jesus has the ability, if we're soft, to make us stronger without actually hardening our heart. If we're hard, Jesus has the ability to touch us and to take and soften our heart and bring us back where we can begin to feel again. Not only that, but for us who are Jesus followers, we plant our identity in our relationship with Jesus so that whatever comes into our life, be it sickness, be it struggle, be it pain, be it betrayal, none of those things get to reshape our identity, because our identity is connected to an immovable, immutable, unchangeable God known as Jesus. So whatever comes, we can retain our shape. We feel the impact, but then we go back to being who we truly are, which is a son or daughter of God. Since it's Father's Day, I want to connect this directly to dads. All of us need resilience. Every single one of us need this. We need to become resilient people, but I want to connect it specifically to dads since it's Father's Day. Another synonym for resilience, for resilient, is the word durable. Durable. Dads love durable. We love durable. Moms out there, if you're looking, guys love things that's just so durable. This truck is durable, right? These things are, this equipment I bought, it's very durable. Guys, we love durable. I don't know why, but there's something in that, right? Listen to me, okay? For you dads. Kids need durable dads. Kids need durable dads in their life. This is what they need. Okay? Being a dad is this struggle. It's really, really difficult. There are really, really hard times. But kids need a durable dad to walk through these hard times. I know it feels like it's just a struggle for you, but think what it's like to be the little kid who hasn't experienced this stuff yet. There's 10,000 different struggles that are going to come into your life with you and your family, and your kids are going to experience it too. And what they need is they need a durable dad. They do not need a soft dad. They do not need a dad who is deformed and changed by every bad thing that comes into his life. They don't need a dad that they just see as a victim of circumstances, and as they watch him, they realize that life just gets to determine who they are, that all the hope is gone because they watch dad just crumble and just change and break and rearrange and all these things because he's soft. But the other thing the kids don't need is they don't need a hard dad. They don't need some hard dad who's hardened himself off and I don't feel anything and I don't talk about anything and I don't pat you on the head and you respect me, but there's no love and there's no warmth. A dad who never once would cry in front of his kids or hug his kids or admit that he did something wrong and he failed and he has to apologize and walk that back because he's so hard. Kids don't need a hard dad, because they don't find that connection to him. Not only that too, but let's just be real. All of you who've pretended that you're hard, it's only a matter of time because before enough things come and smash against you until maybe you break. And then all of a sudden, that hard dad is the dad who disappears. He's the dad who walks away and disappears from his kid's life and says, I can't do it anymore because he tried to be hard, but too many things hit him and then he just shattered. Kids need durable dads. They need a dad who has resilience, who feels the impacts of what come, but then won't change. He returns to his original shape. Kids need a dad who, when all this stuff in life comes to attack the family, the dad who can stand up and he takes the brunt of the force. He takes the pain, he takes the struggle, and he absorbs those things into them so that his family doesn't have to feel them. But then he doesn't take it out on them because he's been changed. Instead, he feels that impact and then he renews his strength in the Lord and stands back up and can be resilient and walk forward as the same man he was before those impacts. Kids need a dad who's durable, one who won't let the annoyances and the struggles and the failures from yesterday carry over into tomorrow. Kids that when they failed, when they've really, really messed up and dad's had to get real with them and get in their face, that tomorrow he's not going to treat that kid like garbage. He's going to treat them like a brand new day because that dad is durable. He can be in that moment, but then the next moment he can return the relationship of the family back to the right normal shape that it is. He refuses to let the family unit be deformed by the situations or decisions. Instead, he's resilient and he brings it back to a normal shape after that's been done. Kids need a durable dad, one who will admit that they are hurting and struggling so they can connect with him and realize that he's a real man. He's not some towering figure beyond something they could accomplish. He's a real man who struggles, who feels pain, who feels all these other things, who has to apologize, but yet dad keeps standing back up and reformulating himself over and over again because he's durable. Kids need a durable dad who could stand up and say, listen, I may be pressed, but I am not crushed. I may be perplexed, but I am not in despair. I refuse to let those things be my identity and our family identity as well. Kids need a durable dad who can take stress and strain and uncertainty and then go back to the normal shape for his family. Dads who can have a terrible day at work, have everything fall down on them, but they're not deformed and they don't shatter, and they can come home and return to that normal shape to walk in and love their kids because their kids need that right now. They don't need to feel that stress. Kids need a durable dad who won't walk away from their families when things get hard, because they get hard. Especially if maybe you started off on the wrong foot, things can get really, really hard. But kids need a durable dad where when they think about dad, they think dad's never going to leave. Dad's never going to change. He's that durable figure that's always there, and he endures through any circumstance. That he's the one thing we can count on in our family. Kids need a durable dad that keeps fighting to give their kids what they need day after day after day. Whatever setbacks come, whatever failures happen, whatever happens with the world and the economy and all that stuff, that they don't give up and they don't become deformed by what attacks them, but instead they reformulate themselves in their faith in God and they move forward to provide and care for their children. Here's my question. Are you soft? Are you hard? Or are you resilient? Some of us are way too soft, dad or not, just you as a person. Some of us are way too soft, and the world has been changing us with everything that's hit us. We absolutely get destroyed by the circumstances, and we're left a wreck. Some of us, we're still carrying around stuff that got stuck into us from years and years ago, and we're letting that be our identity instead. Jesus needs to come in that situation. He needs to take and he needs to heal you and bring you out of that, and he needs to strengthen you. Some of us, we went the other way. We got really, really hard because we saw people who maybe were soft and we thought, I'm not going to be that person. So we got really hard and we got good and let things kind of bounce off of us. But honestly, the cracks are starting to show. We kind of have that wonder of how much longer can I do this? Or maybe you're actually at the place right now where it feels like I'm one thing away. I'm one thing away from just shattering. And I don't think I can do it anymore. You desperately need Jesus to come into this situation and to touch you and to heal you and heal those cracks and then soften you back to this place. Both ways, Jesus is going to come and he brings us to this amazing middle strength of resilience, of being resilient, being durable, being able to take those impacts, bending instead of breaking, absorbing those things and then returning back to the original shape, feeling the pain that comes in, having a day that we feel knocked down, crying about the situation, but then not staying there, standing back up and returning back to our original shape. For some of you, you need to pray today. That's your application. You need to pray. Jesus, I'm too soft. Jesus, I'm too hard. I need you to fix me. And for some of you also, you're dads. And I just want to make a special application to us who are dads. Your kids need you. They need you to be a durable dad. They need someone who they can depend on, that when things come at them, that dad's going to be there to take some of the impact. That dad's going to be the one who keeps returning the family back to normal, back to the original shape that it was in. And I would love to just offer this moment just for prayer for you. If you're watching this alone, Dad, you can just pray by yourself right now with me. But if you're watching this with family, if there's kids there, if your dad is in the room with you and you're watching this, maybe you even want to just get up right now and you want to go and put your hand on him and join him in prayer. Maybe you're there and it's your husband and he's the father of your children, and maybe you just want to put your hand on him and just pray with him right now, because I'm telling you, dads, your kids desperately need you. And if you want to step into the spot of saying, I need God to make me durable for my children. I need God to help me because I have a tendency to be too soft or too hard, and I want to be that durable dad that they can depend on. If that's you, I just want to offer you this moment just to pray with me, and you can just pray this in your heart. You don't even have to pray it out loud. Jesus, you see the hearts and minds of these men, Lord, who feel this great weight that you've blessed them with children. And they feel this great weight of wanting to be a dad who is durable for their child. A dad who can take these impacts to protect their kids, to take whatever comes in the world, but not let it deform him and not let it fracture him, but instead to be able to return to his original shape and lead his family forward once again. I pray that right now as they lean into you, they would just whisper these words in their mind, say, Jesus, I'm sorry for my shortcomings and my sin. Please become the leader of my life. Thank you for paying for all my sins so you could restore my life. Touch my heart. Make me durable for my family. Reveal your goodness through my life to my kids. I pray that these men who do this right now, I pray that their life would be marked by a life of honor, and that someday their children would comment to them how dad wasn't soft and he wasn't hard. He was just this resilient, durable dad who was always there through whatever came. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.